Okay, so the third quick win is the Zero Defects program. How many have ever heard the word Zero Defects program? One of our large contractors here in the Bay Area was the author of this about 20 years ago. First time I heard about it, I thought, ain't gonna happen, impossible, no way. The goal is no punch list, and on the day of substantial completion, there is no punch list. There's nobody working in the building. I turn the keys over to Kate, and she's happy camper, and I'm gone. How many have ever had a project like that? Really hard to do, really hard to do. Even when the owner moves in, they're gonna scuff the walls, and then you're gonna have to come back in and repaint it, right? So this is hard to do, but it's a great goal. Back to Clark's point, why not have a goal of zero defects? I think this program works. And how does it work? If I have a non-conforming item, I have to fix it within 7 days, unless I have to go buy some new material and there's a long lead time. So when I have my subcontractor coordination weekly meeting, remember I start off with subject of safety. I go around the room and I talk about quality next. And I say, Kate, how many nonconformances did you have last week? And she says 0. And I go over to you. How many nonconformances did you have? Well, I had 4. Well, how many did you fix? Well, I didn't fix any. And again, we go around the room and it gets competition. We're all very competitive in construction. And you track how many nonconformances everybody had each week. Powerful message. So this is all about walking the job weekly with the trades, with the owner, and with the appropriate design professional. And you're looking at quality issues only. And so what is it? It's sending a signal to the owner and the architect that quality is a pretty important aspect of your responsibility as a GC. So you're communicating up, and you're also communicating down to the trades with the owner right there and the architect right there. So they can hear their own words of what they think about your work. The conduit runs, are they straight, are they level? Do they look pretty? Paint and aesthetics is always the architect's sole discretion. They only know what beauty is. That's what architects do. So why is this important? If you walk past some work 13 weeks in a row, it's kind of hard to reject it on the 14th week, and we've got to rip all this other shit out. It gets buy-in. It gets teamwork. So you're going to hear from certain owners and architects, they don't have the time. They don't want to pay the architect for that hour to walk the job with you. Now, when do? You do it right after the OAC meeting, the owner, architect, contractor meeting. When we're all there, we go walk the job. How many do that? Okay, this works. Well, let's say they push back. Well, I don't want to do it weekly. Let's do it every other week. Well, let's do it monthly. Okay? This works. Digital photography, here's the smart camera. Every nonconformance should be photographed, if a photograph means anything. If I have dirty paint and I take a picture of paint, sometimes I see the dirt, sometimes I don't. So if a photograph will help enhance the understanding of the issue, take a photograph, fix it, take a conforming photograph, done. Pre-closure sign-offs and photographs. How many people do this? Everything that's in this wall. Before this wall is closed up, I look at every trade that's got anything in this wall, and I get the buy-in from the trade. Maybe I get their signature of the foreman. And then just before the building inspector comes and inspects it, the owner inspects it, or right after, excuse me, then you photograph that wall as evidence that all the backing and blocking is in there. Everything that's supposed to be in the wall is really there. And why is that important? It knocks down the theory that that wall is defective, and every wall has that same defective condition. So I have to do all this destructive testing to go find that I didn't put in a particular circuit, or I didn't put in a particular line or vent in the wall. This is really good stuff. If you don't have a program that does pre-cover-up and pre-closure inspections, I think you might want to move in this direction. This is not hard to do. Now, there is a caveat. If you have a green bean young engineer doing these inspections, it's the blind leading the blind. They don't know what they're looking at. They wouldn't know good work from bad work. So you don't take the greenest person and put him into this role. You put the senior guy, the gray-haired person, to do these inspections and sign-offs. This is a pretty powerful graphic that was published by that safety quality lean director down in Tempe, Arizona. When people think about quality control, they think about this. It's really about this, and this are the most important elements of a quality control program. It's having that pre-install meeting. It's having that first work in place. It's looking at the building envelope. It's preparing a testing and inspection plan, the mock-ups. It's not this. This is what the lawyers think about all the time, but this is the tail. The dog is over here. Okay, code. Everybody talks about being a code contractor. Well, by golly, you better be, because it's the worst the law will allow. So that doesn't buy you a cup of coffee to be a code contractor. And if you start talking to subcontractors and they say, hey, Rich, you expect me to do all this paperwork and take these photographs? Well, I need a change order for all that. I didn't bid it that way. And what do you say? Are you a quality contractor or not? Do I have to pay more for you to do what your contract says you're obligated to do? No, you don't have to pay more to have them do this. Life is not that simple, as you know. Okay, so here again is our lawyers. And we talk about our 4,000 cases. Very few ever go to trial. They settle. They're negotiated, or they're arbitrated, or they're mediated. We only go to trial when we're trying to really make some case law, change some bad case law generally. And having this photo documentation of everything that's in the wall, the flashings, the important elements of the building envelope, knocks down the plaintiff's theory that you're a poor quality contractor, you're out of control, or you intentionally put it in to cheapen up the building because you're just a money-grubbing contractor. They paint you in to be a bad guy. Well, you're not a bad guy. So if I have 600 windows and I put them all in wrong, which happened, that's kind of the worst case. But maybe you have 600 windows and only 5 leak, right? So now how do I find those 5? Well, that's pretty hard to do. I got to flood test them all. So flood testing windows is important, the sample size. How many have worked for the Corps of Engineers? Almost everybody. What do? Let's say there's 100 windows. They pick 10. Flood test 10. How many have to pass? All 10. If 8 pass, what does the Corps say? Test another 10. Different set of 10. What's the standard? All 10 have to pass. 9 pass. I got to test another 10. So you see how that goes. That's the standard that is prevalent in the industry. We think, and talking to our contractors, 2.5% is probably the low end. 10%, again, the core standard. We have a contractor that tests 100% of all their projects because they've been burned. Full limit loss, high deductible program. It cost them $1 million. It cost us several more million. Now they got religion. I think that's economic waste to test all windows 100%, but they were burned and that's just the way they do it. How many people test some sample of the exterior envelope, whether or not the owner requires it? It's just smart to do it. You want to know whether the system's going to work. Hiring the best inspector instead of the low bidder, again, that is pretty obvious. Having a document retrieval system, we're easier to do that today. Selection of subs based on past quality performance, not just price. And then, these are some of the issues that occur frequently within condos and residential construction. I don't know how many cases we had where we have a high-end condo. The one that comes to mind is down in Southern California, doctors, lawyers, the entertainment people, $1 million studio condo, and you don't want to hear the toilet flush in your neighbor, you don't want to smell the spaghetti sauce or whatever that's cooking down the way, and you don't want vibration when somebody drives into the parking lot, your whole building, your balconies bounce. So these are sub-consultants that we think you should hire. Enlightened owners already hire these people. Okay, so here's some takeaways. Claims happen to every size contractor, small to large. No project type is immune. Water, water, water. Water in this business is a 4-letter word. It's bad, and it happens. If you only do the minimum or what the building code requires, you're probably going to build in latent defects in your projects, you or your subcontractors. You can reduce your CD claims, you can minimize rework, and failure to construct the mock-ups or do critical inspection of assemblies will pretty much result in a claim or a performance issue at some point. Now, we had a decision point. I talked with Doug about this when we were first pulling together our program. Should we integrate a water intrusion prevention plan into our manual? We could have it as an attachment, or we could integrate it, or we could just provide it as a standalone document, which requires weekly inspections during the course of construction to make sure that the wind-blown rain is minimized getting into the building, because as the building gets wet, you run the risk of mold growth. And so we decided that we would just integrate it in with our basic program, because it is one of the key mitigation procedures that helps you keep the water out of the building. And with that is the presentation.